Is this in focus? I think it is in focus. Do you know what this is? This, hold on, let's see. This is the Sony, the Sony 90mm macro G Master lens f2.8. And spoiler, this lens is a beast. This is actually my first G Master lens, and God, there's so much to talk about when it comes to like this lens. Let's dive right in, okay? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Ryan Kawa, and today we're talking the Sony 90mm macro G Master f2.8. And like I said before, this lens is a beast, you know, and I've been taking this lens out and taking actually quite a few pictures with this. I've been shooting on an A6400, so that means that there's a crop in there, which means that this 90mm is effectively 135. So as a prime lens, 135 f2.8, it's kind of specific, you know, and I think it's a little bit more niche. It being a macro lens is fantastic. The reason why I got this one is because I am thinking a little bit more ahead. When I do eventually go full frame, this will be at its 90mm, and I think that will be a beautiful lens to have. It'll also double as a portrait lens. Now, you know, with having the A6400, it still doubles as a portrait lens. It's great. It is getting a little bit telephoto for when it comes to taking portraits. Normally portraits, I think a good focal length to go around is probably anywhere from like 70 to like 100. Wider is gonna squeeze your face together, and more telephoto is actually gonna pull your face longer. So anything more like the more telephoto you go, I think is even more unflattering, because no one wants their face larger and wider than it is. Going wider for portraits, I guess, is a little bit nicer because it makes your face look a little bit more skinnier, but that's not what we're dealing with here. Nonetheless, right? And I'll be showing up, you know, sample pictures, you know, all throughout this video. This thing takes beautiful pictures. They are sharp. The lens is fast. Don't get me wrong, there are, and I think I should make this a big point, that there are some times when this lens does do a little bit of hunting, but I think that is because it is a macro lens, and it is sometimes searching all the way, you know, close, and it's just, oh wait, it's all the way up there, haha, JK, you know, and it's just like, oh, haha, well, we're going out there, and then it'll zoom out to that pretty quickly. But what I also really do want to talk about is, one, this lens has OSS, which actually is quite an uncommon thing when it comes to G Master lenses, actually. And I think that's the case is because that most of the big boy mirrorless cameras have IBIS in there, or at least the newer ones. I think the R4 and the S3 have it? Question mark. If you guys do know, let me know down in the descriptions, and you know, let me know how uninformed I am when it comes to the new cameras. I try to be informed, you know, but hey, sometimes you don't know anything, sometimes you forget, okay? It looks fantastic, right? It has a beautiful ring here. This is the focus ring. It has a beautiful grip on here. This isn't not normally a grip I actually see too much on any other lenses, so it feels fantastic. This is auto focus mode. The lens popped outwards, and if you click it into here, you can go ahead and hear it. Right, that click there, if it's clicked all the way in, this is its manual focus, and again, if you click it out like that, it becomes autofocused. So OSS is a big thing. I'll pretty much always have this on because, again, I'm shooting at 135, and at 135, you're gonna see a little bit more shake than you normally see. So having the optical steady shot, the OSS, is really nice to have on. And the next thing right here is actually really interesting, and it comes in handy when you're doing macro photography, right? And again, this lens doubles, right? It is a portrait lens, and it is also a macro lens. And macro lenses are awesome, are just awesome, especially when it comes to product photography. Like they just get you images that you just normally don't see. So basically what this switch means is that it is actually just thinking, let's see if we can get in focus there. It is basically just telling you, or asking, or having you decide the range in which what you're taking photos is in, right? Because it just cuts out, okay, I'm not even gonna bother focusing, you know, in this lower range here. I'm not even gonna worry about it because you're shooting the image way out there. I don't need to think about what's going on over here. Okay, so the times that I do find it hunting at all, it's probably because I have this switched over to, normally I have it on full because I'm like, oh, think about the entire range, you know. But obviously if the image, you know, the person subject is a couple feet away from you, you don't need to be sitting in full. And I bet 100% that it would make it a lot faster and probably take out the little bit of hunting that I have to deal with. It's just that sometimes I forget not to take it off full, you know, because, you know, you forget sometimes. The other big thing on here is the button. I actually don't really assign this to anything. Sometimes I actually feel like it can be a little bit funky to push it. I don't know, I guess not too bad. And it is really great to have a button here if, you know, you need to map it to anything. So that's fantastic. And I guess, you know, again, I'm gonna continue to be showing images for you because I've been using this lens quite a bit. I've been doing some street photography with it. I've been doing portraits with it. I've been doing product photography with it. So not exactly the first choice I would take when it comes to street photography, you know, but when it comes to product photography and like portrait photography, like, again, like this thing is a beast. This thing is an absolute beast. So I think that this thing runs in at about, so this lens comes in at about $1,000. Now it is definitely on the more pricey side of lenses, you know, especially for a prime lens. I mean, in general, G Master glass is super expensive, so I think this is probably actually on maybe the cheaper side of G Masters, but again, it's a prime lens, and, you know, obviously the variable zoom lenses are going to be significantly more expensive. They're ridiculously expensive. So, but I think that this lens is really worth the money. It's good bang for your buck. It's fantastic. It's like, it is a great lens. And oh, also, if you're shooting any video, this is a great B-roll lens. There's nothing really more to say about it. It is a fantastic B-roll lens. So consider it, please. Let's talk about if this lens is for you. I really think that this lens maybe is a little bit more particular. Although, you know, I've been saying it's an amazing lens and that maybe you should get it, but I would really consider what type of photography that you do. If you are doing portrait photography, maybe not even this lens. It's a fantastic prime lens, but maybe something that's a variable zoom, it might be even a little bit more useful and valuable to use. Again, I think that this lens can be very niche sometimes, especially when you're shooting on an APS-C, so you're at 135, which is obviously more telephoto. So it can be very niche. When it comes to product photography, again, this thing is a beast, right? So if you're product photography, then prime lenses, macro lenses are definitely right up your alley. If you're a portrait photographer, I'd probably err on maybe not getting this lens. I'd probably get a different lens just because, especially if you're on APS-C, you know, I definitely maybe wouldn't, because again, it's shooting at that 135 with the crop in there. If you were a full frame portrait photographer, maybe I'd love to test this against other variable zooms that they have or other portrait lenses, because this lens is really sharp and it's actually not as heavy as other lenses can be. I know that G Master lenses run very heavy, so this is a little bit on the lighter side. For landscape, definitely don't use this. This is way too tight, even on a full frame. You don't use 90mm for anything landscape. I said product photography, maybe some portrait photography if you're shooting full frame. If you're using APS-C, 100% product photography using full frame or APS-C, this is going to be a great lens for product photography. And when it comes to video, B-roll, and maybe some real tight shots, and that's probably about it. Again, I think that I have taken some amazing pictures with this lens. I don't think I'm gonna let this lens ever go. I was thinking about this lens when I first got it. I'm like, maybe I try out some product photography and then, you know, we get rid of it because it's situational. It's a niche lens, I think, maybe a little bit more. So for having this lens for a couple of months now, I have taken some really awesome pictures of this lens that I really like, and I think because of that, I'm going to keep this in my kit. It's a great lens. Maybe even one of my favorite lenses. Maybe I think that my favorite lens is probably going to be like a zoom lens of some sort, but again, this lens does very great. It has been performing very well. It has taken beautiful images. They are sharp. Their colors look great. There are no chromatic aberrations, because sometimes, you know, you run into those, and when you pay $1,000 for a lens, you know, you shouldn't have to worry about those things. You know, your image should be sharp. You shouldn't have to worry too much about chromatic aberrations or vignetting on the sides. And those small problems like this, when you buy glass like this, you know, it works, and it works well. It does the job it's supposed to do. And I think when it does that, I don't think that there's a lot I can really ask more of a lens. You know, it does its job well. And I think that's really what matters when it comes to a lens, is does it do its job? Does it allow you to take the image that you are trying to take? And for the most part, this lens has allowed me to take the image that I've wanted to take. There are some times, because that this is a prime lens, and I think that it is a great thing to practice on prime lenses, is that it forces you to move. You know, you can't just sit there and be like, oh, you know, and just like zoom in and like, hey, look, now I'm at 70 mil, you know, or whoa, zoom out, now I'm at 24 mil. You know, it's just like, no, move yourself, right? And I think that it's a really great thing for photographers to practice, is to just simply move, because it allows for a different framing, composition, different perspectives. It allows you to just take a step closer or back for that image, you know, and I think it just allows for things to change, because you know, I've shot so many pictures on variable zoom lenses, and they're so convenient, right? You just like, you know, whoop, whoop, you know, zoom in, out, zoom in, zoom out, you know, whatever you want, and you're gonna get a great picture, right? It's good glass, you're gonna get a great picture. So again, this one I think challenges you, comes to composition and technique, and I think that when you're first starting out as a photographer, those are the things that you want to practice, right? The technique, the perspectives, the angles, trying new things, seeing things differently, you know, than the normal person would, right? That's what it's about when it comes to photography, right? What makes a photographer great, I think, is that they see things that people don't normally see, you know, and they go out and they take that and they come up with really amazing images. Buy this lens if it's right for you. You know, if you're a portrait, or if you're mainly a macro product photographer, then this lens is going to be amazing for you. Okay, all right. And you know, hey man, if you're running landscape, don't touch this lens at all. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's not a landscape lens. Basically, I think that's really what I want to talk about this lens. This big piece of glass here. It's amazing, and I think that's probably going to be a wrap for this video. I wanted to take you around this lens because I've been using this lens so much recently, and I think I've been loving the images that are coming from this lens. So I wanted to share that with you guys, and maybe, you know, if you guys want to buy the lens, you know, check it out, you know, rent it and check it out. You know, that might be the best thing to do, you know, to just really see how good it is. Anyways, I think that's it for this one, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good day.